Item: SCP-997. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures: SCP-997 is to be stored in a standard containment locker while not in use. During testing procedures involving SCP-997, it is recommended that the object be left unplugged while not actively being tested. SCP-997 is to be tested only in a chamber that functions as a Faraday cage. Description: SCP-997 is a device superficially resembling a lamp, but without a bulb and with a twisting wire structure in place of a shade, believed to function as an antenna. It is made primarily of metal, and was somewhat corroded when contained, though this does not appear to have affected its functionality. Imaging of the internal workings suggests sophisticated electronics of unknown purpose. There is a switch near the top that controls whether or not the device is active. SCP-997 is powered by a standard NEMA 5 power outlet, and so has been fitted with an adapter for Site-19 testing chamber wall outlets. While disconnected from power or turned off, SCP-997 exhibits no anomalous properties. When connected to a power source and turned on, SCP-997 emits a field that affects every human within about 250 meters. This field cannot penetrate a Faraday cage that follows the specifications given in Document 997-02, and seems to be at least partially psychic in nature. All persons affected by the field become unable to perceive in any way anything they would consider vermin. This effect is based on subjective judgment, so one individual may perceive something that another may not. SCP-997 effects extend to sufficiently accurate representations of vermin. Testing results suggest that SCP-997 only suppresses conscious awareness of vermin, inflicting symptoms akin to spatial neglect except across all senses. Consequently, though people affected by SCP-997 do not report noticing vermin, they do respond to their presence, though they cannot explain the basis for their reaction. Subjects will often create fanciful excuses for their reactions and refuse to acknowledge the implausibility of these explanations. This disconnect seems to have adverse psychological effects, including paranoia, distress, and delusions. See Experiment Log 997 for further information.